Hey guys, Koukun here. Today we're at the Welland investment tour where we're going to showcase 3 of the conversion projects we have. This is going to be our first one. It's a 3-unit conversion. Come check it out. Yeah, so this is the existing full washroom. Not another washroom in this unit. There's only two washrooms in this unit, one on this level, and on the lower level at the far back, there's a second washroom. So this property is quite unique. This basement is going to be a 2-bed, 2-bathroom. The upstairs is also going to be 3-bed, 2-bathroom. So the master bedroom, there was a 2-piece washroom there. We're converting that into a 3-piece with a shower, right? So both of these units are going to have 2 washrooms. So we have a few properties so far that we've tested out a second washroom in the unit when the space allowed. And so far, those units tend to rent very quickly. The price, sometimes we get a premium, sometimes not, but the demand is very strong. Like if you look at the financials for this project, and even some of these numbers may be a little bit lower than what we get, but we're estimating $2,150 upstairs and $1,550 in this basement. But already from what we're seeing more recently, it may start to go higher, maybe $2,250, and then the basement even, we have, I have another client that rented a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom basement for $1,820 plus hydro in Welland. So crazy numbers, but it's a 1,400 square foot side split. So very big space, right? So I wanted to start here because this may not be the first project you guys started. If this is going to be your first project, it's a lot of work. This client, this is his 5th or 6th project, I think. So he has done 2 other duplex conversions. Prior to that, he bought like an existing duplex, existing triplex. So he's owned quite a few properties. He actually sold a single family home in Hamilton that he bought very early on. He used the profit from that to buy this property and to pay for the renovations, because like this reno budget is like $280,000, right? So it's not a small.
What's the sales price?
This one he purchased it for $711,000. It was listed for $599. We had to go over asking. $711,000. Yeah, $599 we knew already was a bit low, and we don't see that garage so often. Have you guys seen the garage yet?
Yeah, it's not yet.
Why don't we go to the garage, because that's one of the most unique parts about this property. He bought this property, when was this? Back in April? Yeah, April it was listed. Yeah. I think, yeah, it was holding offers for a week or 2. And yeah. Yeah, even at that time, the market, so this year, January, February, March, the market just skyrocketed. April, May, June, it was kind of stabilizing. So it wasn't increasing more and more. But even, so this property, we bought it for $711. Within a week or 2, the same style of home with a 1-car garage, not this huge garage, just a 1-car garage, was starting to sell for $725, $735. I think he got a pretty good deal on it, but I mean, at the time of purchasing, it was always scary, right? Going 111 over asking, it was like 7 multiple offers. Once you work with us and do a few projects, there's a comfort level that you build up, right? Yeah, well, this guy, like I said, he's done like 4 or 5 deals with us, so he knew that we weren't going to recommend him a property that was going to be a problem, right? So yeah, so there's a side entrance. So the main entrance from the house is going to be for the upper unit, and then this side entrance is going to come here. There's a side door to this garage for the garage unit, and then that walk down entry back there is for the basement unit. Yeah, this backyard is actually one of the best parts about it, because we have a corner, like a pie-shaped lot. I was telling the client actually to split it into 3, then each unit can get its own backyard.
Yeah, that's what we do nowadays. Split the backyard.
Yeah, he's a little bit hesitant because the price of wood is so high right now that at least when he bought the property. Now actually it's come down a little bit, so maybe next spring he'll revalue it if that's a good move. But
what about the coach house? Can you have a coach house for 3K?
So in Welland, you can make any house into 3 units. So even RL1 in the zoning.
You're an R1.
R1, so Welland is RL1, but same as R1. But if you want to do a coach house, you cannot have the main house anything more than a single family. So you can only do single family coach house, or you can do 3 units in the main house. So the one way we're starting to go around that is if we have like a nice garage that's detached, we're starting to build like a little connection from the main house to the garage so that the garage can be the 3rd unit. Even though they're separate, if we put, I'll have to see the drawings. We have, I think, 1 or 2 projects happening like that now. So our architect, Jordan, is kind of designing like a little, like a hallway of some kind to attach the garage and the main house so that it can be 3 units, even though it's basically 2 structures. The other challenge you're gonna have with coach houses, I don't know if anyone has a solution for this yet, is the financing. So far, from what I've seen, banks aren't very friendly to coach houses. They treat it as a garage, so they don't give you the 150,000 value of that coach house. They'll just put 20,000 as a garage. When it's part of the main house, then they look at it as a triplex, right? So then they give you the value on the refinance. So there's a few challenges to go through before coach houses become popular, but the city of Welland so far has been very good to us in terms of allowing us to do things. So at some point, we may even experiment maybe buying a house with a big enough land and then just applying for a variance with the city to ask, hey, can we make the house a duplex and put a coach house, and see if that's something they would pass. But it's not something I would recommend to start with, right? If you're starting with this strategy, this is actually the bigger project. The next 2 homes we're gonna see are a little bit simpler, right? Just a bungalow, putting in a basement apartment, and that's where I would personally start with. If you have a bit more capital, a bit more experience, and you want to try something more, then I would look at coach houses, I would look at 3-unit conversions, right? There's a lot of opportunities, but each come with their own risks and own hassles, right? So we're expecting, this is just the projections. I think this is actually lower than what it's gonna be. So we're putting 2150 for the upper, 1550 for the basement, and about 17 for the garage. But I think it's going to be closer to 2250 up, probably 17 for the basement. And this garage, I'm expecting close to 18 to 1900 actually once it's done, because everything's going to be brand new, right? It's going to be done to a really high quality.
You said these projects takes about 6 months, right?
Our typical duplex conversion takes 6 months. This one, honestly, like, we have our next tour in January. The contractor thinks it'll be done before then. I'm not 100% sure. There still seems to be a lot of work to be done. If it is done, then it is about 6 months of work. So this is probably closer to a 9-month project start to finish. But a typical duplex would be about 6 months start to finish. We've experimented with renting out part of the home while the rest is being renovated. You know, it helps with your carrying costs, but you deal with other hassles as well, right? Because the tenants are unhappy, there's a lot of dust, right? So yeah, this contractor, he doesn't want the property rented while he's working. He says, you know, keep it empty, I'll finish as quickly as possible, I'll be in and out, and then both units or 3 units. This one, the 2 units will definitely finish first. The permit process for a 3-unit, you have to start with a duplex. Once that permit is closed, you can apply for the permit for the garage. We're still doing the work in the garage, and we let the inspector know, hey, we don't really have a permit for this garage, but you're going to be inspecting this garage.
They allow you to build without permit.
Because we have a permit for the main house, it's technically not allowed, but they're allowing it for now because they're seeing it at every stage. And then at the end, they probably won't close up the garage for now. They'll rough it in, but leave it exposed so that once they apply for the permit, they can do an initial inspection to everything's visible, nothing's covered up, right?
Separate heating, or you have a...
Yeah, it's going to be a separate furnace for the garage, separate gas meter, separate hydro for all 3 units. The only thing that we didn't split is the water, because we looked into it. It's not an easy thing to split on a residential property in Welland. So we have 1 water meter, but then 2 gas meters and 3 hydro meters.
So normally who pay the water here?
It would be the owner. Yeah, the owner would be paying for the water. The only saving grace nowadays is that if you get an A mortgage, like an A lender, you're paying what, 1.5% to 2% interest rates. So of your mortgage payment, 2/3 is going towards paying down the principal. So once the project is done, you refinance the property, that money you get back. So even though you're carrying it, that money comes out once the project is done. So it's really only the interest, property tax, utilities that you're really losing. And it is a cost, but it's a cost to be expected on a project like this. It's definitely not the same as something turnkey, right, where you get the income right away. But those properties are really selling for a premium these days. So sometimes you can go, like, I think for this project, we bought it with Scotiabank. And once it's done, they're just going to go back to Scotiabank, get a new appraisal, and increase the mortgage by whatever they will allow, right? So the cost, they may not even have to pay any interest rate like penalty because they're keeping the existing mortgage. And even the appraisal cost, sometimes the lenders are nice enough to cover that for you. The cost of refinancing isn't huge. Where lending costs become very large is if you can't qualify for an A lender, or if the property can't qualify for A lender. Like if you were buying this property as it is right now, with all the walls open, you're not going to get an A lender to finance it, right? Without a kitchen, without functioning bathrooms. If that were the case, then you would have to go to a B lender. Then you pay a high interest, but also you start paying lender fees, like a 1%, 2% of the amount you're borrowing right up front. That's when it gets costly, but we tend to typically just get, you know, traditional like A lending financing on these type of projects.
So triplex.
Well, I guess the exact wording is it's a legal duplex with an in-law suite, but the city is we're going to have an occupancy permit for all 3 units. So the city is giving their blessing. This is legal. It can be rented out. There's no issue, right?
Financing, no issue.
And then financing should be no issue, right? It's a legal property brought up to code with the city, and then you have 3 single-family rents, right? So the important part, so even though Niagara College is just right back there, we're not going to rent to students. We're going to rent it to 3 separate families, have 3 lease agreements, because once you start renting to students, I have a couple of student rentals, the financing becomes just painful, right? Very few lenders will touch it. It's hard for you to keep buying properties, right? So as a triplex, pretty much every lender that lends on rental properties will be open to something like this.
So if a duplex with an in-law suite, are you able to get away with that because it's connected? But if the garage was separate?
Yeah, so in Welland currently, if the garage or if the additional unit is not attached to the main house, you can still do it. You just can't make the house into 2 units. So it would be a single family home with a detached unit.
Oh,
Because they're attached, you can go up to 3.
I see.
The workaround that we've started to do is if we have a garage that's a little bit closer to the main house, we're starting to build a little walkway or something to attach the 2 structures so that it's one sort of L-shaped structure.
Yeah, so you can make 3 units.
Yeah, so that,
How do you juggle the utilities? Are they going to split it up here in terms of the hydro? Or?
yeah, so hydro is completely split for all 3 units.
Yeah.
Gas is also going to be split into 2.
Okay.
This addition this garage, we're going to do a separate HVAC system, separate furnace with its own gas meter. So this tenant will pay rent plus hydro plus gas.
Right.
The main house, they'll just pay plus hydro, and the landlord will pay. Yeah, why don't we go ahead to the front of the house, and then we'll discuss the parking. The first thing is Hamilton, from a price point, is quite up there at this point. I think I've seen legal duplexes sell in Hamilton for like $950,000 to $1 million, right? So but it's always been that way. Like our market has always been a little bit cheaper than Hamilton. So when prices there were like $500,000 to $600,000, we were buying for like $350,000, $400,000, right? So there was always that gap, and I'm sure even in the future it's going to be more, but we're going to be more as well, right? City of Welland is very interesting. Like that pro-development attitude helps us on the duplexes, right? Because we get our permits sometimes within a week, right? We submit it, we get the result. But also it's helping businesses build their plants here. Like you see the subdivisions as you enter the city or as you go south of the city, there's like major subdivisions being built around the city. So I think over time a lot's going to happen, but the Niagara region as a whole also is growing, right? So the city of Niagara Falls and the city of St. Catharines are tough to do this same strategy. over time, as the population of the region grows, if the rentals are here, people are going to come here, right? Even if they have to work in those other cities. Yeah, so just in terms of parking, so with this strategy, a 3-unit conversion, you need to have a front-to-back parking, a pair of front-to-back, and a pair of side-to-side parking spots. So basically an L shape. That's the requirement. You can't have 3 side-by-side. You can't have 3 front-to-back. It's this very specific layout because the in-law suites needs a front-to-back, and then the legal duplex needs side-to-side. So it's a curious combo. Yeah, so basically 1 parking spot here, 1 in the front, and then legally, right? Practically, yeah, they didn't have to do anything. Yeah, if we were to widen it, we'd just do either side. Yeah, that wouldn't be an issue. And you can see here, this is where so we're creating 2 egress windows in the basement, basically just under the existing windows. Yeah, we couldn't really see it from the inside, but because it's boarded up, but
Why they have 2 egress? Only one is
yeah, so only one's required, but
yeah.
on a project of this size and when you're trying to attract like a very premium tenant, big windows, good natural light goes a long way. So we're trying to balance cost with also how appealing we can make it, right? We don't want to do the bare minimum, especially when you're spending this much on a project. You want to get a bit of a better tenant profile, and yeah. And also the rooms here are actually quite big. So you need the light requirement of a bedroom is 2%, but when you have like a 150 square foot room, that window still becomes a decent size. Now tourism hasn't been great recently, but actually even this summer, like if you look for an Airbnb in Ontario, because people weren't traveling outside, all the local ones were just bid up in price, right? So anyway, so there's Niagara Falls you would expect.
Brock University is bringing a lot of.
Yeah, a lot of.
They stay after the. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Yeah, even Niagara College, right? Brock University, they also bring in people who study and then stay work, right? So the cost becomes very large if you get into development fees.
Oh, okay.
So the reason we're doing this as a duplex plus an additional unit instead of a triplex is if you do a triplex, you pay like 20,000-25,000 for development fees on the 3rd unit, right? So by doing duplex, in-law suite, we're able to avoid those kind of charges.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah, so we only, I think the permit fees are 500,000, maybe 2,000 on the high end, but I've never heard of them being significant amounts.
Okay. And how much is Jordan fee on this?
I don't know for this one. Typically, it's around 2,000 to 2,500 for a duplex. Something like this would be more because you have the 3rd unit, you need HVAC drawings. There's a few more moving parts, but overall he's been pretty reasonable. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you're interested to come to our next investment tour, definitely make sure to get our free beginner's guide in the comments below. For those of you on our email list, we'll send you updates when the next one we host is, so that you can come in person to check out these type of projects and kind of get a feel for what is involved in a duplex conversion project. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. Until next time, all the best.